babies on the left.
I don't know
Next to
When she gets
library.
it's gotta go. It's City of Buellton, no spaces,
Okay.
at
What?
2020.
Optional speaker.
Oh, does you wanna share your password with Elise?
Or Andrea.
Oh, that would have been awesome.
I just noticed.
Hey guys, can somebody speak?
Can you hear me?
Andrea?
Can you hear me?
Nothing.
We're not hearing them, they hear us, but.
I know, but it takes a little time to.
I'm on a Zoom, yeah?
I'm out of town. I can use my phone.
Oh, yeah, hotspot.
What's the speaker output for
That's the
this?
word I was looking for.
Similar to
Speaker
that,
output?
yes,
Oh.
sir.
Yeah, what's the speaker output for
don't
the
know.
Zoom?
Starting the meeting very shortly.
I'm
So
not
do you want
sure.
us on Zoom?
I mean, I assume it's this one or this. HDMI is the, oh no, that's the monitor. Wait, turn off original sound? See up here, what is that? Try this, try one of the other inside,
That's
or,
the microphone, that's there.
oh, okay, yeah, right.
Faint noise in the background.
Can't live with it, can't live without it.
Maybe we should, and our kids would go outside and play.
I kick them out.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Get out.
My parents didn't
sorry,
let me in,
we
you're
see
not
her.
coming in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Sorry.
my-
Sorry,
That's
I
okay.
forgot
back
you
with
were
the street lights.
using the mouse.
Yeah, well, we lived on a ranch, so they were like, we'll call you.
Yeah, we'll let you know.
Yeah.
Pretty much when mom started screaming. Okay.
Oh,
So
speaker.
I don't
yeah.
need to
No,
hear
it's okay.
anybody or
Speak up,
anything,
speak
but
down.
I,
No, you just turn what, because you're on this.
That one right there.
do I mute myself?
Yeah, mute yourself on there and then turn your output volume all the way down,
Got it.
and then we won't get feedback.
Okay, so far so good.
I only know it because I've.
Andrea, can you hear me?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Okay, still nothing. Mm-mm. No, you leave it off mute, or leave it on mute the whole time. Mhm, yeah. Yeah, we get really bad feedback if you take it off mute. And your volume should be turned way down, so. Okay.
Always start with the straight piece.
Unmuted on the board. Yeah, it's unmuted.
Mm-hmm,
Easiest ones to.
It's unmuted.
mm-hmm.
Nice. It wasn't mine.
We can have a name the turkey.
In one of my flight schools, they had classes for a 747. And it only went about halfway up the puzzle.
I have to do the contacts thing where I'm blind, I can't function.
Oh,
There.
Hi, Victor. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll let you sit here.
You just happen to be in the neighborhood.
Yeah, I was right across
Thank
the
you.
street.
I wonder what the heck happened to it. It's like they almost disappeared off the face of the earth. He did all of our IT stuff out of the golf course.
Victor.
Huh?
Who? Victor.
Yeah. Hi, Victor.
How's it going?
He's on it. It happened to be in the hood, thank goodness.
It's just getting the people, the remote folks to come through our speakers. That's the last link that we're missing here.
Output A to input B. Yeah, I had a stereo that had about 6, 7 different components. Oh my God, there were wires everywhere. Yes, it had CD player, a power hose, a graphic equalizer, an amplifier.
So when it worked, it was incredible.
Well, yeah, it was like the internet, but it was. Come on, Grandma. Don't turn those pancakes over so fast.
Hey, how's that new baby?
Which one?
Don't you have a new one?
Andrea, can you burst into song for us?
Can you hear me?
Oh, a little bit.
Can you hear me now?
It's up.
I could hear you a little bit. Keep talking.
Can you hear me now? It's like the commercial.
A little bit. Yeah.
And then he quit and went over to AT&T.
How's that work with our volume?
They probably paid him
What's
more
that?
money.
We could hardly hear, is that?
That's what we're working on right now.
But don't you have a new baby?
Yeah,
Yeah, they
Benjamin,
can hear us. just
Benjamin
fine.
Oliver Belabarsky. His initials are Bob.
That's quite a last
He
name.
actually had some respiratory issues,
Aw.
so he's been in the neonatal ICU since he was born.
Oh, baby.
But he's almost recovered now. And they did all the genetic tests and all that stuff, and they said it was just because he was born 3 weeks early.
Yeah.
So he had a little problem with the lungs, so he's getting stronger every day.
That's quite a last name.
Yeah, and he has like blonde hair and blue eyes.
Oh,
My son-in-law has almost black hair and brown eyes.
and your daughter's.
Andrea, keep talking, or Chanel?
Can you hear me?
His grandmother and me, because I have
Can you hear me?
my son-in-law's grandmother.
I can hear you, Chanel.
Yeah, it's just the chamber.
Interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Like we, all of us on Zoom can talk that are not in the chamber, and then all of them can talk and we can hear them.
It's funny how
Yeah.
it throws.
One came out with blue eyes and blonde hair, and I had blue eyes and blonde hair when I was born, and my husband has green eyes and brown hair, but both of our parents have colored eyes and light hair. It's very weird.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea, because 3 of them came out, brown eyes, brown hair, and then the last one's like, surprise.
Your little one's blonde, right?
Yeah, super blonde and super blue eyes.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I think Lena didn't stand a chance with the youngest daughter because she's blonde hair and blue eye. And my wife is about as Scandinavian looking as you can get.
She looks just like your wife, Lena.
She doesn't, she looks exactly like me.
Poor thing.
She looks like mama.
Yeah, she has really blue eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Level down.
Pumpkin.
I'm feeling a little bit.
A little cockeyed.
Yeah.
It's gonna tip my computer.
So it matched.
Is that Olivia Torres?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, she's a recipient.
I've known that kid since she was about
Had no meetings.
Okay.
That's the Williams Scholarship. Williams Scholarship. Yeah, she did a really good building a better Buellton. We don't ever read it,
I've known her
if
mom.
we can hear her.
I've probably known her mom and
If you
dad
don't
since I
watch on
moved here
TV.
in 2004. Something like that. Olivia was probably 1 or 2. Boy, they all grow up fast, don't they?
That's something.
It's like when you haven't seen somebody for a long time and then they're with their kids like 5 years ago and then they're 6 foot. What?
Very busy.
Yeah.
Super crazy
What
with
was
the
that?
schools.
You get a break after school, so you.
I have full 12 months. So, and the summer is our busier season because we're closing one fiscal year and opening another, and it's absolute chaos. But kids are almost out of school, so there's still one less thing to worry about bringing everyone to school. Dropping off at 3 different places in the morning.
This is
Who's watching the kids during the day?
So the oldest one's at the high school, the 2 middle ones are in elementary school, and the youngest goes to daycare in St. Mary's.
When school ends.
Huh?
What about when school ends? Where?
Her daycare is all year round, so, and then when school ends, the oldest stays home with the middles, and they're pretty good. I mean,
What's she doing?
she's 15, and then the next one is 11, no, he's 12 now, and then the other one is 9, so they're pretty yeah, you know.
I got an 11-year-old grandson watching 7-year-old, 2-year-old.
Yeah. It's nice when they can finally help out a little bit. Like I had to leave for this before my husband came home, so. The 2-year-old, because the 15-year-old just has to study for finals, so she can't be bothered. Yeah. I mean, she's there if they need her, but. How's everything with you?
Good.
And go back
I've
to,
got this fiddle in Halifax.
stress about it.
Yeah, I just think I'd like to get a few more hours. More clothes.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Oh, okay.
I'm waiting for Christmas time, 'cause that's when I get to take.
All right, we got
Things calm down at the school.
Fausto's iPhone.
So excited for it.
Okay.
I know, but you know, every little bit helps. This is gonna be a school year from great.
Senior awards night.
Victor.
Yeah, I don't know how to do it all.
I just have to see the
Scholarship.
That's perfect. Scholarships. Yeah, that's what I like a lot about when I have to do both. Mm-hmm. I think that.
It gets too small.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm thinking that one I could do it, but I'm not very proficient. I'm sure people like it, but it then again gets small. Right. That's what I do at home normally, is I use the iPad for the agenda, just because it's easier.
For the packet, yeah.
But then I feel like everyone looks at me like I'm.
Your ideas for use of
Oh,
balloons
nice.
and
That
that.
wasn't on Thursday's paper.
I think this is current,
We just got
today's.
it in the mailbox, yeah.
Maybe it's gonna be Tuesday.
Yeah, this was updated 4 hours ago, so maybe it's,
Yeah, 4 hours ago. Maybe it'll be next Tuesday.
Yeah.
Talk to Lee Owens on the corner.
Leo?
Lee Owens.
Oh, Lee Owens.
And he said, "Does bug me a bit. I don't care what you do." And I said, "I noticed you weren't in any meetings. I saw you out. I was going to just see how you felt about it." And he goes, "Do what you want. We don't care." And I said, "About
Hey,
the
there's a
kids,
picture of
stars."
Holly.
And he goes, "So
Oh,
what?
Lord.
Morning, night. See, it's busy."
Okay, I got it. It's back.
When I saw your picture with Salute on the bike.
Yeah, did you see that? That
I was
was
gonna-
Tuesday.
And the bowling
Not
center.
till late. I was going to send you a
We're in the
message,
news
but it was
today.
like 10:30.
that's not good.
Yeah, that was.
But it's all good though, the bowling
That
center's
was
good.
fun. There were two pictures. I'm
Back
glad
on
they
track.
picked that one because the other one, it looked like I was wobbling on the bike, ready to fall over, and it was like, oh, God. But Salute and I are like that, you know.
Can we have somebody on the Zoom say something?
Chanel, you want to say something, please?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, there we go.
Yay, Victor!
Thank you, Victor.
Good job,
Thank you, thank you.
Victor.
All right, let's check,
You're amazing.
Ashley, can you say something?
Hey, can you hear me?
Okay, good. We got more than just one, so I think we're in good shape. One thing I need to figure out here is, let me get the flag in the right place. Through the
Because through the
microphone.
mics, you're coming through there.
They're on Zoom, they hear it through their computer, but you're gonna speak into the mic.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, so that was the,
Yep.
yeah.
All right, Madam Mayor, I think we are ready to go.
Is everybody ready?
Bye, Victor. Thank you.
Everybody all set?
Rose, are we ready?
We've been streaming.
Oh, we're up.
I hereby call the City of Buellton City Council meeting for May 27th, 2021 to order. If I could get Councilman Andrusik to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Certainly, Madam Mayor. Hands over heart. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Councilman Andrusik. Linda, if I could get a roll call.
Okay, Councilmember Andrusik.
Here?
Councilmember King.
Here.
Councilmember Lewis. Vice Mayor Sanchez.
Here.
And Mayor Sierra.
Here, thank you. Do we have any reordering of the agenda tonight?
We have no reorderings this evening.
Thank you. Do we have any public comments tonight? This was the public's opportunity to speak on anything on the agenda, outside the agenda. Linda, I didn't see anything.
No comments.
Alrighty, closing public comments. Moving to the consent calendar, we have 8 items tonight. We have the minutes of May 15, 2021, special city council meeting, the meetings of May 13, 2021, regular city council meeting, list of claims to be approved and ratified for payment to date for fiscal year 2020-2021, the monthly treasurer's report, April 30th, 2021, the financial report for the third quarter ending March 31st, 2021, resolution number 21-08, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Buellton, California, approving a 2% cost of living adjustment, or a COLA, for all regular full-time employees effective July 1st, 2021. Approval of Recreation Memorandum of Understanding with the City of Solvang, and the contract amendment to the agreement for animal control services between the County of Santa Barbara and the City of Buellton, fiscal year 2021-22. Any questions for staff regarding any of the consent calendar?
Move for approval. Second.
Motion and a second. Linda?
Okay, Councilmember King.
Aye.
Councilmember Andrusik.
Aye.
Councilmember Lewis. Vice Mayor Sanchez.
Aye.
And Mayor Sierra.
Aye. Thank you. Presentations. We have presentations tonight for the recipients of the Norman and Gail Williams Buellton Education Scholarships. We had some very nice entries, applications, and 2 Buellton residents were selected, Olivia Torres and McLean Watson. I see that they're with us tonight. Congratulations. One of the requirements to receiving this, it's a 2-year, it's $1,000 per year for 2 years for each student, and they have to write an essay on how to build a better Buellton. And so I am hoping that I can get Olivia and McLean, maybe Olivia first, to read. I had the wonderful opportunity, as did Kyle, to read your essay, but I would love for the council and anybody listening tonight to hear it. So if you could take your mute button off and give us your essay, that'd be great.
Yes, of course. I can go first. Awesome. Can you guys hear me? Sorry. Okay, perfect. Okay, so my essay on how to build a better Buellton. So I want to preface this by saying that I grew up in Buellton and I loved it, but that being said, there's always room for improvement. Any place can benefit from a skillfully planned growth. Once I got my driver's license, my whole world changed. I had so many more possibilities. I could drive to the beach, out to dinner, or to Santa Maria or Santa Barbara. These were intriguing because my friends and I were always looking for something to do. Since my time in the Valley, Buellton has expanded and advanced, but there can always be more. The goal should be to transform Buellton in order for children and teens to not feel like they need to drive outside of this valley for fun recreational activities. Recently, it was sad for me to hear that the movie theater was closing. I remember in middle school, I was asked on my first official date to go watch a movie. This was one of the few easy things kids could do who were too young to drive in Buellton. Parents could take their kids to the movies and then allow them to go to McDonald's for ice cream, keeping them occupied for 3+ hours. Going to the movies was the first sense of freedom I enjoyed as a child. Now, kids will not be able to go to the movies with their friends without a trip outside the valley. In order to combat this change, Buellton should go through with their plans to add a bowling alley. A bowling alley would be a marked improvement in the movie theaters. This would allow for social relationships to flourish, being that they can chat and talk and eat. It would also put parents at ease knowing their kids are in Buellton without the fear of them making a trip home on the freeway late at night. Besides adding things to do, Buellton could be developed to help foster passions and success. One thing that I believe could be added is an aquatic center. It is very important for children, especially where we live, to be comfortable in the water. Personally, as a child, in summers I participated in junior lifeguards. Because of this, I conquered my fears of the ocean. If I would have started earlier, perhaps my love for aquatic sports would have been stronger than my love for land sports. By putting a pool in Buellton, the valley could start to breed a stronger aquatics program at the high school. In addition, currently the only pools that are open besides the YMCA are the hotel pools. Putting in an aquatic center would lessen teen delinquency. Many teens get caught sneaking into hot tubs at night or pools in the summer when it gets super hot. Another addition that would help foster passions and success stems from creating better opportunities for high school students. Buellton could be on the front of this movement by helping high school students get internships. It would be helpful for students to have a job more centered to a future career or passion they want to pursue, but many times they lose to more qualified candidates for internship opportunities. An institution that helps open doors for high school students could solve this problem. The students that come out of this valley are a reflection of where they grow up, and therefore anything to help aid them would be a valuable addition to Buellton. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good essay. McLean Watson, how about you? You've got your essay handy?
Yeah. So how to build a better Buellton. When things get hard, Buellton steps up. Time and time again, the best part of Buellton is the amazing people who live here and create a community. When the pandemic hit and we had to lock down, a handful of amazing Buellton women saw a profound need as people were without work and hungry. The Buellton Blessing Box was created, and in just a matter of days, an old cabinet was set in front of Buellton Automotive and filled with household essentials and food. Anyone could fill it, and anyone could take needed items from it. It truly was neighbors taking care of each other. These women made sure it was stocked, checking on it several times a day, and even picking up food from residents who wanted to donate but were in quarantine because of their own medical risk. They make Buellton better. We can expand funding for the Buellton Blessing Box and support those that manage it. If you have an infant, you better get on the wait list because Zaka Center Preschool has over 100 names already on the wait list for their nationally recognized program and not nearly enough spots to meet the needs of Buellton's families. They are a certified outdoor classroom, have dedicated teachers, most of whom have been there for decades, and are a true inclusion program for those with special needs. My brother is disabled, and he was able to get tremendous access to needed therapies and accommodations at Zaka, and I was able to start my education by learning the most important lesson at Zaka. We all belong, and there is room for everyone. They make Buellton better. We can support the mission of Zaka, and by doing so, support our Buellton families and inclusion in our community. We love our sweet senior citizens. The Senior Center in Buellton is a model for making sure our seniors have access to food, healthcare supplies, activities, and support. They have been a lifeline to so many of our frail and vulnerable senior citizens. Unfortunately, as they have been most at risk during the pandemic, the programs of the Senior Center have had to be drastically suspended. Even so, they have continued to provide food and support to many as much as possible. They make Buellton better. We can continue to support the Senior Center, continue to find ways to support our seniors during the pandemic, and reinstate and expand the previous Senior Center programs as soon as pandemic restrictions are lifted. Making Buellton better can mean so many things. Do we need more flowers, more stoplights, an aquatic center to tear down that building? Maybe. While those may be relevant issues, the strength of Buellton is not in how it looks. The strength of Buellton is in the people of Buellton and how we take care of each other. Making Buellton better means strengthening those things, acknowledging the wonderful and generous service of so many of our residents, and empowering them to do even more.
Thank you very much. I tell you, ladies, congratulations. We're very, very proud of you. If we were at normal times, you would be here with the Williams brothers. with everybody voicing their appreciation. So we want to thank you, congratulations, thank you for submitting the applications, and good luck with your academic careers. Good job. Good job. Okay, so now we're moving on. Any comments from council?
I think they both did a great job. Appreciate it.
Oh, I think someone wants to speak.
Colleague Brenda Gillis is here. She's representing Norman and Gale.
Oh, good. Brenda, please. You want to unmute?
You're on mute.
There we go. Now can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, everyone. Just real quick, I just wanted to, hold on one second. Let me just bring this up here. I just wanted to quickly say I'm representing my dad, Gail, and my uncle, Norm. And I just wanted to say congratulations to Olivia McLean. And I just quickly wanted to say we've been honored to have started the scholarship. Well, Norman and Gail started the scholarship opportunity many years ago as a part of their mission to support and encourage the value of furthering one's education. And this was founded from their own experiences of college degrees and entrepreneurship as a foundation for success. They recognize the importance of acknowledging those individuals that possess these goals and hope to inspire the recipients of these scholarships to follow their dreams, and that anything is possible with hard work, determination, and gratitude. So congratulations.
Thank you very much, Brenda.
Thank you so much.
Better myself. Kyle, I'm not sure. I think this is like the 11th year. How many years have we been doing this scholarship? Oh, more
Sounds
than
about right, but I don't have the exact number, but
yeah. 11 plus.
okay. Sounds good. So congratulations, girls. Go do good things.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All righty. Thank you. Moving on to public hearings. Do we have any tonight?
We have no public hearings this evening.
Then we're going to our council member comments / items. I'm going to start at that end. Councilmember Lewis.
I just wanted to comment that I believe it's the highway patrol that has the speed monitor on 2nd Street right now. Is it highway patrol?
It's the city's
The
speed
city.
truck.
I love it. I love it because I don't think you realize, even when you think that you're going a decent speed, that you're not. And I think it really helps. So it's nice to see it there. So maybe it, makes people pay attention a little bit more.
The lights flash a little bit. If
They
you
do. They do. Oh my goodness. Okay. No flashing.
No.
So I like seeing it, and I think it's a good reminder.
I've seen other vehicles it flashes with
Yes.
them. Not with us.
Yeah.
Vice Mayor Sanchez, comments, items?
I would like to thank the Williams family for the scholarship, and that makes Buellton proud for the youth in that, and I think it's a wonderful thing they do every year, and I thank them for doing that, and Brenda. And nothing else at this time, thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilman King?
I'll just ditto what John just said, and I have nothing further.
All righty. Councilman Andrusik, comments / items?
I do not have any, if it was an item or anything, I didn't bring my little memo to myself, but I'll interrupt the meeting
Okay, there you go.
as soon as it hits my brain.
Anytime you want.
Thank you.
I just wanted to congratulate Candace Signa, who was just nominated, or she was the San Ynez Valley Oaks Woman of the Year, for all of the wonderful helping with the blessing box and parades. She has been a force in Buellton, and I'm really proud that she belongs to our community. And then on Monday, I'm sure the city manager will also reiterate it, but Monday, 11 a.m., there is a Memorial Day ceremony at San Ynez Veterans Hall. And then at 3 o'clock on Monday, we have our Avenue of Flags ceremony. So if you're available, you should head out to the Avenue on Monday at 3 p.m. so you can see we've got our arts and culture. We've got 2 artists there, and they both have patriotic themes. So anyway, all righty. Written communications,
We have no written communications this evening.
committee reports. Councilman Andrusik, do you have any committee reports?
We had a couple of things. We had a sustainable water meeting last Monday. I think that's the second one we've had this month. Sigma. Then today we had the CCWA, Central Coast Water Authority, had a board meeting, so about 9 to noon, and that on that event. And I think seemed like there was something else that that was not ready, so it didn't get brought. Whenever it gets brought, I'll bring it to you.
Perfect, thank you. Anybody else? No committee reports? SBCAG and APCD met last Thursday. SBCAG, we had the meeting, we went over budgets, the executive director's review, and then on Tuesday we met down at Santa Claus Lane for the beginning of the Padaro Lane to Carpinteria 101 expansion, and we all had an opportunity to ride electric bikes. I need to talk to Kyle because Kent Epperson would like to bring some electric bikes to the Buellton Barbecue Bonanza on the 31st for people to try out. It was a real kick. And APCD was pretty much budget. They did have a notice of violations, and is it Central Coast Ag? Was a page and a half of violations. It's our cannabis farm right outside Buellton, although they said it was in Buellton. I had to clarify that. Operating diesel equipment that is not allowed with cannabis operations. So not only do we get smells, but then we're going to get diesel fumes coming our way too. But that is being corrected, and that was my committee report. Yeah, no. If it's not cannabis, it's diesel. Moving on to business items. Agenda item number 10 is discussion regarding solar energy structures at Park and Ride and area north of Avenue of Flags. This would be Ms. Keepers.
All right. I'm just gonna go ahead and share my screen here real quick, so just bear with me for 1 second. All right. Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of the City Council. This item is brought to you tonight as a follow-up to the April 22nd City Council meeting, at which the concept plans provided by Flying Flags for 2 potential solar structures at the location of the city-owned Park and Ride and the area immediate north, so within the city public right-of-way, were introduced to the City Council. So as a refresher, I've put together just a couple of slides showing some images that were also shown at the April 22nd meeting and also included in the meeting packet tonight. So just starting with the alternative location, and actually to back up, so for the alternative location, which is what you saw at the last meeting in the public right-of-way here. Again, these images were shown last meeting, but just to refresh your memory on those. So the purpose of this item is to evaluate the level of interest of the City Council to pursue this concept further. At the April 22nd meeting, City Council expressed several concerns with the placement of the solar structures within the public right-of-way, particularly within the area north of the Park and Ride. However, City Council requested that more information be brought back at a later meeting. So in response to comments and discussion at that meeting, staff has brought back this item to provide further information and to allow for further discussion on the concept proposal. I will note that representatives from Flying Flags are again in attendance tonight. I see one of them, and I believe one will be joining us shortly. And they have also prepared a presentation with the goal of addressing some of the previous comments of the City Council at the April 22nd meeting. And also to provide some additional context to assist the City Council in understanding the intent for considering alternative locations different from the initial proposal. So in addition to the Park and Ride and area north structures that were concepts that were presented at the April 22nd meeting, the staff report also includes additional details of the initial proposal. So the initial concept included includes an approximately 32,000 square foot structure with a minimum height of 19 feet and a maximum of 30 feet. And it is located wholly within the Flying Flags RV Resort on the north end. So I'll just go ahead and show a couple of slides here. So the area that's sort of overlaid in blue, that shows the general location of where they were initially and still are considering locating the solar structure. I'll just go here to the next slide. So this is just an example elevation that was provided in the packet as well, just to kind of give a general idea of the structures themselves. And as alluded to, and I think mentioned at the last meeting, this location, and I'll go back to it real quick, does pose some challenges, given that its location, it's located near the creek. And in addition to that, some potential visual impacts due to its size and scale. And here's just some more example images that were provided previously by Flying Flags. And included as attachment 3 in the staff report, I just showed it up here on the screen. There was a vicinity map here, shows the general locations of both concept proposals. So the alternative proposal, which was what was presented at the last meeting, and the initial concept that was brought forward to staff. And so you can just kind of see the difference in location there. So, and I'll just stop sharing my screen here. The recommendation tonight is that the City Council review and discuss the concept plans for proposed solar energy structures and provide direction to staff on the potential for the city entering into a license agreement with the Flying Flags RV Resort for the installation and operation and maintenance of the proposed structures within the city right of way. So what was shown, the initial concept that was shown was that's fully within the Flying Flags RV Resort property. So you know, that would be a different process that the applicant would go through if they chose to pursue that location. But that location was other alternative or initial location was shown to kind of show you the council what was proposed previously. And I believe the representatives from Flying Flags may have some more visuals to show you related to what that structure could look like from different locations. Sam will correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that that is the case as part of their presentation that they have prepared for tonight. So that concludes my staff report. If there are any questions for me, I'm available. Otherwise, at this time, if okay, I would suggest that representatives from Flying Flags be given the opportunity to provide additional information. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Before we go to Sam and Flying Flags, are there any questions for Andrea?
No, not from me.
No questions. Okay, why don't we move on to Flying Flags reps then? I see Sam's here.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. Thanks for the opportunity to present to you again. As Andrea mentioned, this is a follow-up on the 5/22 meeting. And basically, you know, what I would like to do is I'd like to briefly explain, you know, the project as a whole and explain why Flying Flags is looking to deploy solar. I also want to talk a little bit of the technical challenges that we're dealing with when, you know, trying to incorporate solar into the property. The second thing I would like to do is look into detail at the structures design for both on the west side and on the north, the original proposal on the north end. I think Andrea covered, showed good images. I was trying to come up with, you know, I have other images, but I was trying to come up with actual renderings, like the same way we did for the structures on the west side. But we had some technical challenges. I do have pictures showing, you know, where the structure would be located, kind of the height, you know, and everything from different angles. But unfortunately, they're not renderings. then I want to go ahead and develop on the reasons why building the two structures on the west side on the public right-of-way could bring benefits, not only for Flying Flags, but also for the city of Buellton, its residents and visitors. And the last thing I would like to address some of the questions and concerns that were raised during the meeting on 5/22. So, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen now. Okay, let's see. Do you see the presentation?
Yes.
Yes.
Hello?
There you go.
Hello?
That's good.
Yes, we hear you.
Yeah, okay. All right. So that's a start quote. I like to start with quotes. It's by J.C. Penney, the person who created this Penney says that growth is never by mere chance. It's the result of forces working together. All right. So I'd like to start with the current administration achievements, right? And the reason why I'm starting with that is because these administrations, they reach out to me and they said that they want to incorporate solar into the property. So as you can see, in 2005, when the current administration took over, the revenue at Flying Flags was about $2 million. And in 2019, that revenue was $9,447,000. That's, about over $7 million increase and an average 12% compound growth year over year. So it just shows that the administration is working actively to improve the business, their business, which is hosting guests, right? And then what does that mean to Buellton, right? I think it means a lot. The estimated TOT, which is also called the hotel taxes, right? That are paid on on the hotels for if people are staying the night, they have to pay the tax, right? In 2005, it was 262,000, and in 2019 was 938,000. So that's out. It's the same thing. It's the TOT is correlates very well to the revenue, right? In addition to the increased tax, the Flying Flags generate employees employment opportunities. Okay, right now the Flying Flags employs 80 people. So the current administration reached out to me, as I said, and said, Sam, we're paying a lot in electricity. And one of the things they're trying to do to improve our business is to install solar. So that's how much the Flying Flags is spent in 2019. And I think it's important to highlight here, and I think that was a point that I saw on the last presentation, that this is not a residential facility, right? We're talking about a real energy usage here. So I think that's why when the questions are, why don't you put on the roof, and we're raised in the scale of the structure. What we're trying to do here is to decrease electricity costs for a business that consumes a lot of electricity. This quick, showing how solar, photovoltaic electricity is actually, the lower cost electricity. You have natural gas and wind, but actually solar is currently the lower cost electricity, right? Besides that, like the U.S. grid is evolving. They're looking to improve and transform the energy infrastructure. Distributed generation refers to electricity generation at or near the point of use. So it can benefit small, medium, and large properties and offer additional benefits to the grid. Distributed generation improves energy reliability as it can operate independently from the grid. So potentially by installing solar, not only the Flying Flags would be, reducing their electricity costs, but it could, in the case of a disaster, like a major disaster, like an earthquake or something, it could operate as a source of relief, because the potentially that solar array could operate independently from the grid. Okay, so I'm going to move on. We start talking about that back in beginning of 2021. The first location, which was proposed by actually the administration, the owners, they wanted to put on that hillside right on the very south of the Flying Flags park. And unfortunately, I talked to Irma at the time, and we encountered several challenges. I think the line that divides the city of Buellton and the county of Santa Barbara runs right in the middle of that hillside. And there were concerns with flood because of the river that runs across there. So we had to find other locations. So we went back to the drawing board, discussed with the park management, and then we came up with the current location. That was September last year, and that's when we first sent the initial proposal. We shared that with Andrea and the rest of the city staff, and city staff, they show some concerns in regards to the creek and the visual impacts. And they suggested that we looked into the west side at the covering the parking lots, right? And then that was around November 2021. And the response was that, yeah, the parking lot area was great. Actually, I had looked into that before, but it would not meet the space that we would need in order to make the project cost effective. Again, this is a commercial project. We're looking into, doing a cost effective system and that requires a certain scale, right? So that's the 1 and 2, which Andrea already presented. So this is structure number 1, right? That would be the structure that would be covering the park and ride area, right? It would be directly above the parking spots. And that's pretty much like a side view of that structure. That structure number 2, that's what we're proposing to put on the area north, where there's currently trees. There's a grass area and a couple of trees. That's what the structure would look like. It'd be 9 feet on the side closest to close to the sidewalk, and 16 feet on the other side closest to the Flying Flags park. And then that's the structure 3, right? That's the structure that we're proposing to build within the park property, right? And as you can see here, the challenge is that there's a pitch to this structure. It's not a very high pitch. It's 10 degrees, right? It slopes like that on a 10 degree. But when you go from 20, the growth is about 3 feet. And then you go to 40, it goes to 7 feet. And when we go to 60, they actually go to 10 feet, 10 and a half feet. And that's why when we go with the long structure, like with the 2 posts, it gets so tall. So this is what structure 3 would look like. We have the posts. That's like a more realistic. I was trying to incorporate that image to the pictures, but we ran into some challenges with the picture. I'll still work on it. Now I want to, go a little bit, address some of the concerns. A lot of them on the last meeting were in regards to the way solar array looks, right? I think I can jump here to the, to the letters that we received. And we can see that, we have seen these arrays in other places and they're unsightly, they do not fit the character. And that was Mrs. and Mr. Kavanaugh. And then Mrs. Kornick, I don't know if that's how you spell his last name. He said he was not certain on what was being proposed, but there are ways in solar panels can be incorporated in an effective, aesthetical, and pleasing way. Right, and I think the aesthetics was a major concern. Right, people were, the city council members and the residents have various concerns in regards to the way the structure looks like. So I'm going to go back to. Sorry about that. Okay. To what the structure actually is, so pretty much the way so it's a shed style roof, right? And as you can see here on the image, that's pretty much what it is. Here we have 3 poles, right? And on this area here, you can actually, it's built, the structure is built inside. And here's also another example of a shed style roof. I have these pictures here because those are also, a similar structure, right? It's like a shed style roof where we have like one pitch roof, and that's actually State Street in Santa Barbara, right? And as you can see here, that structure is being used to hold tables for the restaurants. I think that's an Italian restaurant. This is Joe's Cafe. It's a very well-known place in Santa Barbara. It's a restaurant as well. That's another one on State Street. And this one here, it's just actually open. I don't know what they're going to do here, but it's right on State and Haley. And I think that the main thing here that I want to show is that you can't really tell what's on the roof. Like you can see there's a roof line, but it could have, the roof could have solar panels on it. It could be blue, yellow, it could be several, it could be several things. It could be metal. You can't really tell what the roof is. So I don't think people are going to be seeing much of the solar arrays. They're going to be seeing more like of the structure. Right, and here's where it comes, like what that structure could be, like, so this is a concept that the reason why we chose to utilize that structure, the shed roof structure, is because there's no space on the RV resort to put solar panels, right? So we had to find a way to incorporate the solar panels while still allowing for the area underneath the solar panels to be utilized. Right, and that's why we came up with that structure. So the solar panels are not going to be visible. The solar panels are going to be in the roof. Again, I'm repeating myself. So this is kind of like what that structure could look like, right? It's a concept. That structure the area underneath that structure could be utilized. Here's the same. We have this structure from like a little bit of different angle. Here, like it's just a grassy area, and here we have some. You can build a deck, you can build things that to make this structure looks more like a finished structure. I think that the main point, the advantage of the structure is that it's versatile. It can be easily rearranged to serve multiple functions. It unlocks a new destination or the avenue of the flags. It could create jobs and extra sales tax revenue. You have an organic source of visitor for flying flags. There's 280,000 people per year that visit the flying flags, and it's right there. So if you have that structure there, and here I have the possible uses that you could You can put public market, visitor center, farmers market. You can put an art gallery, musical venue, an outdoor eating area, beer and wine garden, or a combination of these. And I left the last one blank here because the area underneath could be used for virtually anything. Here I'm going. That's the one above the parking structure. I think that the nice thing about what we're doing here is that because we're going to have to be opening a trench to bring the electrical wires to the meter location, we could also bring wires for EV charging, right? So here's what would be the benefits to the covered park and ride area, right? So shaded parking is better than not shaded. Okay, I think that's everyone could agree with that. The car doesn't get as hot and so forth. EV charging may bring travelers. So people are going up the hill, traveling from LA to San Francisco, for example. They will have they'll need to charge their cars in between, and they could choose to stop at the Buellton, park and ride charging station. It takes about 30 minutes to charge a car, and that could be a good excuse for people that are charging their car to walk on the avenue of the flats. They can choose to visit the structure that's right, up to the north, which we're proposing to build, but they could also go beyond, further up Avenue of the Flags. I think this we already kind of like addressed. I think it deserves a little bit more of an explanation of what the structure look like, and actually the solar panels are going to be raised very high. You're not going to see the panels. What you're going to see is the space underneath both structures. One is going to be covering the parking spots, and the other one is a blank canvas. Same here. I think, when they say that I've seen the solar arrays, they might be thinking solar arrays are mounted on the ground where you see the solar panels. I don't know. But the structure that we're proposing, you just see kind of like the roof. And then to finish here, that's Thomas Edison. It's a code that we already put on the first place. I think solar, there's some of like a political element to it, but I think at this point it's mostly a technology that provides lower cost electricity, and that's it. That's pretty much what the Flying Flag is trying to do. Trying to cut costs, and I think that by supporting Flying Flags, it will come back to the city of Buellton. And lastly, I guess, like we do, the Flying Flags did intend to build this structure with him, the property. And when the city staff proposed on the west side, I thought that was a good idea. If we can make it happen, it will be a lower structure. It would be, a simpler project. And from a technical standpoint, I believe it would be a better solution. But if not possible, then yes, we'll go back to build inside. And again, the goal is to reduce the costs for the business so they can be profitable and invest their profit in making the park better.
All right, thank you very much, sir. Appreciate the presentation. We'll get questions. Okay, absolutely. We're going to just ask some questions. And then come back. Any questions? I'm curious, Sam. You say that you can make these look like shed structures, but the ones you're showing us on State Street are much shorter than the presentation that we've seen. How tall do you plan? Structure one would have to be taller to accommodate vehicles, but structure two and the original one on the north side, how tall are these structures going to be?
Did I stop sharing my screen? You can see the screen or no longer?
No.
Yeah, so I guess I'm gonna have to go back to Sorry about that. My screen got black. Okay, so let me share again. Can you see it?
I see your screen, yes.
Okay. All right. So actually, so that would be the structure on the north end here, right? And so that's, oh no, that's the tall one. So this is 9 feet, right? So this structure here, it seems to be shorter, but that's actually, it might be a little higher than 9 feet, right? And that's kind of like a similar pitch. So the structure above the parking area would be similar in similar height to that. I think the clearance, again, I'm gonna go back to, you know, that would be on the parking area. The clearance on the short end, again, that would be, let me see here.
So the park and ride would be 9 feet to 12 and a half feet tall and 20 feet in depth. And
Yeah, it would be 20 feet across.
and then it would go the length of the park and ride.
Yeah, it would be 20 feet across. Or is it? Sorry, yeah. Okay, so 20 feet across, 9 feet on the short end, which is the end closer to the street,
right?
And 12 and a half where the cars enter. So it would be actually pretty similar to, oh yeah, here it is. Okay, that's what I wanted to show. So here's 9 feet, right? And here's 12 and a half. And again, we don't really see the solar panels. Let me make this larger. Okay, all right. So this is 9, right? And this is 12 and a half. So it's pretty similar to, you know, that's about, so I would say 8-9 feet, you know, like this is a person here, so he's sitting, so this would be probably around 6 feet here, you know, so that's probably 9 feet. You see a standing person here. Yeah, and then now the structure above the parking, the RV, that's why they would be a little taller, because they need to clear, they need to have clearance for the RVs, and that's 14 and a half on the low side, right? And actually it'd be a little higher than that, because there's a taller building on the north end that would have to have clearance for.
Are they planning on putting RVs underneath these structures?
Yeah, that would, the idea again is to, you know, incorporate the solar array in a way that allows you to utilize the land underneath, and that's pretty much the way that you can do that.
Okay, so we've got a structure 1, a structure 2, and a structure 3. And structure 2 would require cutting down a lot of our older trees, city property trees, correct?
Yes. Now the city, that's a point that I forgot to mention. So let me see here. So you see this grass area right here, along this area here. So there are no trees. So the idea was to move the trees that are on the area to the south of this area that I'm pointing out here to here, and that would be, there are a couple benefits. You'd still get the trees in a very similar location, and would kind of like cover the RV park from Avenue of the Flags.
Other questions for Sam before I go to public comment?
I don't know.
Questions?
Yeah, Sam, do you know what the initial cost of this is, including the federal tax break that you get for construction and the cost of the solar panels? What's the initial outlay?
Yeah, the cost for it was close to $1 million, and that's before. And regarding the credit, right? So it's not really a rebate. It's a tax credit, right? So you can only claim that that credit if you have tax liability, right? So if you don't pay taxes, you get nothing. And the only reason why Flying Flags can take advantage of the tax credits because they're paying a lot of taxes.
So initially you were planning on just the structure 3 on the Flying Flags property.
Yeah, this is right here. Yes, ma'am.
And that's large enough to give you what you need for solar power for Flying Flags.
Correct. Yes.
So are you proposing structure 1 and 2 or structure 3, or what is Flying Flags current, the way they would like to see things go?
Well, I think, as I said, you know, the structures on the west side, right, on the public right of way, they would have to be, they wouldn't have to have so much clearance as to, you know, clear RVs, right? And for that reason, there would be shorter structures with simpler construction. So for that reason, I think from a technical standpoint, it would make the most sense to go for that, because you know, if you can build something shorter, you want to go for that, right? So from a technical standpoint, yes, the public right of way would bring benefits, because it would be, again, a shorter structure, a simpler construction.
Okay, thank you. Back to you, Councilman King.
Well, I'm just a little confused, Sam. The solar panels that we put on our schools cost $3.5 million. And this one appears to be larger than the one we put on our schools here in the city of Buellton. I'm kind of concerned about that $1 million cost to put this in. Have you guys penciled this out?
Yeah, I mean, that's, you know, I think that's, you know, like when you have public work, there's a lot of costs, you know, that are not involved when you do private work. You know, that's kind of like a good thing and a bad thing. I think, like, you know, like there's an extra burden that, you know, when you're doing work for government, that businesses don't. That you know, I think that might be the reason. But yes, that has been penciled out. And you know, I mean, the delay is causing a little bit of stress because steel prices have gone up substantially. That's really, you know, putting a little bit of stress on us. And but yeah, we have definitely penciled it out, and we're ready to make this work.
And just to confirm that your electrical cost for that property per annum is $321,000?
300,000. Yeah, that's what Flying Flags spent on a yearly basis.
All right. Any other questions? Then I open it to the public. Do we have any public comment on this item?
No comments.
Closing public comment. Coming back to council for discussion.
I had a question. Is it, if they put this on our parking lot, is there anything with prevailing wage or anything? Can we just give them permission and they have a private contractor work on our property?
Let the city attorney address that question for you.
We would work with them to set up a license agreement in which they would take the risk of that. It would be their property. We would license the use of the land to them. They wouldn't be making a public improvement because it would continue to flow to them. Obviously, sir, there's a risk on that, and any agreement that we would have would require them to indemnify and defend the city so that the city would not be at risk. They would take the risk of ensuring that they carry out the project in a way that either complies with the California prevailing wage law, or if it doesn't, they have a good reason why.
Questions, would they have to pay prevailing wage to put this on our property?
I am not 100% certain. Because it's not a public improvement, the prevailing wage law may or may not apply. It would depend on the way the deal was structured.
That might just blow the whole thing for them, I mean, and if they might, bringing that in, that may just cut all their interest in doing it on our property.
Very well could, sir, yes.
That is something we discussed with them early on in the process, and they've been advised of what the city attorney has just said. And so moving forward, they're aware that they would need to, the deal would need to be structured in such a way, and their conduct in constructing and operating this facility would need to be done in such a way as to avoid that if that was their intent, or comply with it, one or the other.
Hold on just a second. Councilmember Lewis was next. You're right after her.
I have a concern. I understand that you addressed the fact that city residents will not see the actual solar panels, but I think that their concerns don't center on physically seeing or not seeing the panels. I think that their concerns center on seeing the structure at all, particularly the structure that is, I believe, more north where it
Median,
Yeah,
the
the-
structure two.
correct, on structure two. So I think the issue is not necessarily that it's the solar panels, the issue is the structure in general being an eyesore from their homes is, I think, one of the major concerns that I'm contending with in reviewing this project. I'm not so concerned about the park and ride issue because I think it would be a good upgrade to the park and ride, but as a whole, the concerns of the residents weigh strongly.
And cutting down those trees.
Right, yes.
Councilman King?
I have a question for our counselor. Since this is technically our property, if, God forbid, say something goes wrong with this and injures somebody on our property, who is going to get sued?
We would get sued. There's no question about that. The license agreement would again require them to defend, indemnify, and hold us harmless. So ultimately, it would be on the operators of Flying Flags and on their insurance company to handle the matter. But the lawsuit would certainly name us because, as you say, sir, it's our property.
Councilman Andrusik, any comments, any thoughts? Yeah, I don't really have an issue with the park and ride. I think I see that as a potential benefit for the city. It's still a long park and ride, so it would be a long structure. But structure two, I agree with you, Councilmember Lewis. I just, it's very long. I don't really see the benefits as a beer garden or a farmer's market. It's too close to the street. I see it more as an impediment. And I know that people with built-in building, that people enjoy looking at the green belt. They enjoy seeing our green areas. So I think your structure 3 and your structure 1, I'm more okay with that than I am with structure 2. That's just my own personal opinion. So I don't know if anybody has anything else they want to add.
Well, I agree with Elisa that I think this would be a grave disservice to the people that live in town, especially the people who live across the street from this, is that you're gonna have to look at this across the street and, good luck in getting grass to grow underneath this.
And Madam Mayor, if I can just clarify one thing for the city council before you carry on and come to a decision. What's before the council this evening, the decision before the city council this evening is whether or not to proceed forward in pursuing a license agreement between the Flying Flags and the city for structures number 1 and or 2. Structure 3, if that's proposed, would need to be taken care of through our typical planning process, and we.
That's on their property.
Yes, that's correct. So only structure 1 and 2 are at issue for discussion this evening.
I did think it was interesting that they said that they weren't sure they had the space on their property for this.
They have had the space on their property. That was, structure 3 was the proposed space for that. Structure 1 was what city staff had proposed as an alternative to that, but as you've heard from the property owners here, the intended amount of energy that they want to generate is much more than can be accommodated by a structure on the park and ride alone, which necessitates extension. And that's really where the question comes in for the city council, is whether or not that's an appropriate use of those properties, both for 1 and 2.
Well, I think I'm willing to move forward with structure 1, but not with structure 2.
Are they interested in a split of that nature?
Could that be done, Sam?
Yeah, so the challenge is that, if we put one system here on the park and ride and the other one on the north end, you would have to run 2 conduits, and there would be additional technical challenges due to the way the panels would connect to the inverter and so forth. So if we cannot, if we can't put all of the system on the west side, what we're gonna have to do again on a technical basis would be go back to the inside and have the larger structure as one, because the reason why we separate them 2 here, because they would be sort of like kind of close together in the same area, and the electrical facility is right here where the arrow is. So yeah, we've looked into that, and the answer is most likely, we would go back to, installing the larger structure within property limits. Unfortunately, the parking ride area it looks like it's made for that, but.
And I think that would be okay, but I think when you put the 2 together, that it's a little too much for that area.
Yeah, I wouldn't be willing to put the homeowners and residents in that situation.
Gentlemen, any?
Be, gonna make a motion to okay structure 1, just as a single, I would make that motion.
And I'd like to make a motion to not allow that structure to be put on section 1.
So can I ask a clarifying question? If they are not interested in just having structure 1, then wouldn't the motion be all or nothing? Because I don't think they're interested in a structure 1 only motion. So I think that that's effectively, by saying structure 1, you're effectively saying no. Am I incorrect in my understanding?
Sam would go back to flying flags, but he's saying that he doesn't believe, I believe that's what you're saying, Sam.
If the city council were to indicate that there's some interest in pursuing a structure on parcel 1 or structure number 1, that would allow the Flying Flags property ownership to make a determination as to whether or not they wanted to pursue that under a license agreement with the city. If they decided to do that, that option would remain available. If they didn't, they wouldn't need that. If the city council said no to all of it tonight, that would take that option off the table for them. And
I just wanted to understand. Thank you.
So I
Madam
have
Mayor, I'd like to amend my motion, is that the city of Buellton does not allow any construction of solar panels on city property or city right of way.
that's not what this one is about.
We actually can't go that broadly. We're only talking about these 2 sites tonight, the park and ride in the area just north of it.
Have it come back as a
Amend it a
council
second
item. Okay, so we haven't had a second for the first motion or the second motion. I will second the first motion that it is for structure 1 and not for structure 2. Is there a second for Councilman King's motion to not allow any structure 1 or 2? Okay, then you have a motion and a second on the okay to move forward with structure 1, but not structure 2. Linda, roll call?
Okay, Vice Mayor Sanchez.
Aye.
Mayor Sierra.
Aye.
Councilmember Andrusik.
Aye.
Councilmember King.
That was for John's motion, correct? No.
And Councilmember Lewis.
Thank you very much. And City Manager, you have.
I advise the property owners here for Flying Flags to continue discussions with the planning department regarding your future plans, and we'll work with you to make sure we get those taken care of. All right.
Thank you.
I can see the need for solar power at Flying Flags. That electric bill is crazy.
Yeah.
I did have a question, just beside the point. Would you be able to, if there was a power outage, would you be able to separate that and actually run off the solar alone, or is this just a?
Only if there's generator backup for the solar panels.
Sun's out. Okay.
I don't know if they're planning on putting in solar generators.
I was just a question. Thank you.
Is that something that the park is considering, Sam?
To have the solar panels function when there's a grid power outage.
Correct.
Yes, that's technically possible. You would need to incorporate some type of energy storage to it, and it's not part of the scope of the current project, but it's definitely the way we're designing it. It will allow for incorporation of energy storage at a later date. And I think that's one very important. Not only has many benefits to the grid, but if there's a disaster, it could come in very handy to have that especially the an RV park with all the facilities to have access to power, to their own backup power.
And I see Mr. Kim has joined us, and welcome. All righty, so we finished with agenda item number 10. I thought I saw Norm and Kathy Williams on. I don't know if
They were on. I did send them a quick text indicating that I would ask for an opportunity for them to speak after this item, but they have left the meeting at this point. So.
Thank you. Then we move on to business item number 11. Discussion and approval of arts and culture project applications for A, Discovery Days and Ferry Village project, and B, the Buellton Music Makers project. Mr. Abello.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, honorable council members. We have 2 more arts and culture projects for your consideration this evening. The first is Discovery Days and Ferry Village. The applicant, Ashley Jenkins, founded the Santa Ynez Valley Children's Museum as a nonprofit 501c3 dedicated to building a local outdoor children's museum in the Santa Ynez Valley and to offer hands-on programs to children and families. They have an active 8-person board of directors and a network of volunteers, including students and teachers from Hanada Middle School, Zaka Center Preschool, and the high school. The project request includes 2 parts. The first being a series of 4 Discovery Days family events at the Botanic Garden. And the second part is a Ferry Village art installation to be installed at the Botanic Garden as well. Discovery Days are proposed as 2-hour events the first Saturday of each month. So June 5th, July 3rd, August 7th, and September 4th. And there's a unique theme and activity for each one. They've had previous pilot versions of these events and they have been favorably received, but limited number of participants due to budget constraints on supplies. They usually have an arts and craft component to each one of these Discovery Days. With grant funding, the applicant estimates that as many as 100 to 200 people could be served at each event, with more supplies, publicity, and ample room at the Botanic Garden to spread out. The second part of the proposed project is an art installation in the form of a gnarled log that would be transformed into an intricate fairy village. The log would be installed vertically near the children's garden area of the Botanic Garden. And the building of that fairy village log would involve community collaboration, children, families, and seniors contributing to that final permanent art piece. So you can see the complete application as your attachment number 1. The requested grant of $12,000 again would be split into two parts as reflected in that project budget, which is attachment 2. The craft supplies, publicity, and labor for Discovery Days would be $9,000. $3,000 would pay for materials, labor, and marketing for the Ferry Village gnarled log art installation. You can see a sample flyer as attachment 3. Any unspent funds would be required to be returned to the city. And this was recommended after discussion by the Arts and Culture Committee. Just to jump ahead to the total fiscal impact, the Arts and Culture project funding included in this year's fiscal year has $32,784 remaining. So with that, staff is able to answer any questions, and we also are pleased to have with us the applicant, Ashley Jenkins.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Kyle before we, or Ashley, I'm sorry. I guess my question, Ashley, would be your Discovery Days, you're starting on June 5th. You're hoping to get approximately 100 people, mostly children, I would imagine, to these events. How are you advertising for this? I mean, that's less than 2 weeks away.
Yeah, that's a great question. Can you hear my voice? All right. Okay, wonderful. So this is a series of 6 events. So we've already held 2, and the June 5th will be our 3rd event. Because of the fledgling nature of our organization, we've been a nonprofit for 10 months now, and things are going wonderfully, but we don't have a large base of donors. We did receive a small grant that we co-wrote with the Botanic Garden. And that's what's enabling us to make these events free to the community. One of the pieces that we've run into is that we've only really been able to accommodate like 20, 30 people or so with the materials that we can buy. So we've got a large team of volunteers. We've got a lot of people cobbling things together, but that is why we're coming for funding, is so that we can accommodate more people. Our first event had about 30, 32, I think, families come. Our second event, that was in April. In May, and that was with no advertising. I mean, that was new. In May, we had a more robust reach out to all the local schools. And even though this is a Buellton specific grant that we're asking for marketing purposes, we are marketing valley-wide. So when I say all the schools, I mean valley-wide, all the schools, Los Olivos, Los Alamos even, Ballard schools, all that sort of thing. So that's where the marketing's coming from. We also just got a donation to cover our logo and our website build outs. We have a social media intern that's a local college student, and she's fabulous. So we're posting on Facebook 5 times a week. We have an Instagram account. Our new website is up. We're advertising to all of the local schools, all of the local preschools through Buellton Rec. We're in, I believe it was the water bill. Is that right, Kyle? Yeah, the Buellton Rec kind of insert that goes in with the water bill. So that's the whole city. We also just got into something similar in the city of Solvang. So we're really trying to bring a lot of people in from the valley. So those are some ways that we're marketing. And again, our first event was 30 families. Our second event was about 60 families. And with this third event, not only are we getting that social media momentum, which is how a lot of things seem to work for the valley, is people hear that somebody else did it, or they missed it, so they really want to go to this one. So that's what we're hearing from people. For this one, I think it's going to be even bigger than our last event, just because of the nature of last time it was Adobe bricks, which, mud appeals to some people, my kids. But this time it's fairies. And so we have a lot more families that are planning to come just because it's going to be cutesy. So those are some of the ways we're marketing. Does that answer your question?
Very much, yes. Any other questions before I go to public comment or public? Okay, I'm opening it up to the public for any questions or comments. Is there any, do we have any public?
No comments.
Closing it, bringing it back to council. Shall we just take it one at a time? The first one is Discovery Days and Ferry Village project.
I motion that we approve Discovery Days in the Ferry Village project.
Second.
All righty. Linda, can we get a vote on that one first?
Sure. Councilmember Lewis.
Aye.
Councilmember King. Councilmember Andrusik. Vice Mayor Sanchez.
Aye.
And Mayor Sierra.
Aye. All righty, that's one down. Kyle?
All right. On to the second project, the Buellton Music Makers Project. The applicant, Don Clarius, unfortunately was not able to join us today. His experience goes back many decades. He has multiple degrees in music and communications, has been a choral director, and has also been the piano accompanist for the Santa Ynez Valley Master Chorale. He has also been involved for the past 14 years as musical director and reenactment trainer for the annual Atascadero Colony Days Tent City, which is a reenactment of the year 1916. And he is a resident of Atascadero. The purpose of the project is to create a community kind of chorus glee club that would be open to all at no cost to participants. Practices would be every other week proposed at the Buellton Rec Center, and the group would perform at any or all Buellton community events, such as Barbecue Bonanza, the Buellton Winterfest, Wine and Chili Fest, etc. The group would not only sing, but also include creative instrumental use, and that's why the project is titled Music Makers, not just singers. This musical selection, as you can see from the application, which is in your attachment 4, includes familiar tunes, folk songs, old time Americana type music. And the background of the applicant, Mr. Clarius, as well as a more detailed proposal and some of the sample music are included as your attachment 5. Unfortunately, for the Arts and Culture Committee, he actually sang some of the selections of sample music. And if you saw there, he actually rewrote a couple verses to include Buellton in one of the songs. The requested grant is $1,726. That would pay for sheet music and a small honorarium to offset Mr. Clarius's transportation costs to and from Atascadero. Any unspent funds would be required to be returned to the city. Again, the city has remaining funds in the arts and culture budget of $32,784.
That's 12,000.
Yes.
Any questions for Kyle on this one? How long would this last? How long does this go on? He would be down every other week?
He would be, this is a year. He is pledging to come 25 weeks. And I believe Vice Mayor Sanchez did the calculation at the Arts and Culture Committee. So it's a pretty good deal if you count at an hourly rate. But Mr. Clarius is a history buff, and it's more a project of a love of music than really a remuneration.
I motion to approve.
Second. All righty, we've had a motion and a second to approve it.
Okay. Councilmember Lewis. Councilmember King. Councilmember Andrusik. Vice Mayor Sanchez. And Mayor Sierra.
Aye. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
To bring some pretty good stuff to our.
I would like to thank the support of we went through this, and we'll basically have a house band. So it'd be nice.
For bringing it to us, you keep us abreast of the current.
It's a very active group.
Have fun.
Yeah, really nice.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much. We are moving on to agenda item number 12. Request for additional funding allocation for repair of the HVAC at Thompson Seifert Gymnasium at Hanada Middle School. Mr. Wolf.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. If the City Council will recall, back in November of last year, the city council authorized a payment of $4,126 for reimbursement to the Buellton Unified School District for one half of the expenses of the repair of the HVAC system at the Hanada Middle School gymnasium. As you'll recall, the HVAC system had been non-functional for probably close to 2 years, maybe a little longer than that at that point, and the district had been working without much success at finding a contractor who would be willing to come in and do that work. The contractor was eventually found. The work initially was done in November, and the invoice was submitted to the council, who paid that in November. However, at the time that repair was done, additional work was identified that needed to be complete in order to make that HVAC system functional and safe for the gym to open while it's in operation. That additional work was completed after the first of the year, and an invoice was submitted to the city following our last joint use committee meeting with the school district on May 3rd. The invoices are attached to your report. They total $9,312. One half of which is requested to be reimbursed by the city, the total of which would be $4,656. I will note that these repairs have been completed. The gymnasium is open at this point, and because of the COVID situation, the city has been the only user of that facility for the past couple of months. So the school district has not been using that facility and may not use it with any intensity until the school year begins in the fall. So at this point, staff is recommending that the city council approve the requested reimbursement of $4,656. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Questions? So the increase is another $500 and something then?
No, this would be in addition to the $4,000 that was, yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes, there was some additional work that needed to be done. As the superintendent has explained to the Joint Use Committee on a number of occasions, that HVAC system was installed in the gymnasium under a grant program, and it was very overbuilt for the facility, and it included a lot more than that facility actually needed. Something that included that hadn't been known up until the repairs took place was a CO2 monitoring system. And when the repair took place, they realized that while the controller was then, or while the HVAC unit was functional, the CO2 monitoring system was not. And because of the liability involved in not having a functional CO2 monitor, the district couldn't operate the system. So they had to go in and have that repaired. There was also the control board issue that had to be resolved. And given the situation with the grant funding and the company that was selected to install that, it was a proprietary piece of equipment, which costs a lot of money to replace. So yes, the subsequent invoices were a little over $9,000. That's correct, yes. Mm-hmm.
I don't think that we have much of a choice. I'll open, Linda, do we have any public comment on this item?
No, ma'am.
All right, then I bring it back to council, close the public comment.
I made the motion to approve.
I'll second.
Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Lewis.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Sanchez.
Aye.
Councilmember Andrusik.
Aye.
Councilmember King.
Aye.
And Mayor Sierra.
Aye, thank you. Before we get on to the city manager's report, Councilman Andrusik has his notes on the CCWA meeting.
Oh,
He's
wonderful.
going to share with us,
Okay.
and then we'll move forward. Please, sir.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and council members, for your patience. Staff had brought to our attention today at the Central Coast Water Authority monthly meeting that they've hired a consultant. And the reason for the consultant being hired is that the water storage in and around, it's not just Orville, but that's a classic example. Lake Orville has Orville Dam, Lake Orville, a tremendous amount of activity, and it's important to maintain it appropriately and on a timely basis. So they're talking about the historical averages of the lake and area are well above historical levels. They have a need for more than they're getting more than they expected, but there's an average, the average is well above the capacity. There was an example that the water that is consumed for those in that area that we're talking about that we manage, 1.6 million acre feet per year. That's their that's the use that they need, and they have to. That's why they want to be prepared for it. They've brought the consultant on to give them best advice of how to maneuver the water so that it's not wasted. You know, we've always talked about allocation. We always say the state decides the allocation. Your allocation is, you know, it's 30, 40, 50%. The allocation right now is 5%. This is becoming the driest year on record over the 100-year scan that they keep track of. So it's bringing lots of concern to all water purveyors, and that isn't going to make water more available or more affordable. It's going to be, as we've been saying for the last 8 months or so, very, very expensive. And so I think everyone's attention level is elevated on seeking the best, and I think the decision was we were not involved in it. We were advised of the consultant that the staff has hired. I can get you the information on if you're interested in doing an analysis of it. But the consultant apparently has very good ratings background, and so I trust our management to make good decisions. So I just wanted to try to put some numbers to it when I was listening to all this, and I was trying to go back and make notes. What did they just say? And that's a lot of water, and the fact that the quality or the water levels are extremely low could get worse before they get better. But Mother Nature might just throw us a good.
We just had snow at Tahoe.
Good word. There you go. Did you go up to get some?
I just missed it. I just missed it.
All right. So I appreciate you listening. I wanted to bring that in. I was frustrated because I couldn't find this data. I had it sandwiched in my notes.
Thank you for sharing. We appreciate
You're quite
that. Thank you. City managers report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the City Council. Just a few items for you this evening. As the mayor mentioned earlier, Buellton Barbecue Bonanza will be held this year in person, on July 31st. That is a Saturday from 11 to 2, and that will be at Riverview Park. We look forward to a great opening event now that we're all back in person here. Memorial Day, Monday, that's this coming Monday. There are 2 events, as the mayor noted. The first one is taking place in Solvang, and that's at 11 o'clock, and that's at the Solvang Vets Hall. The second one will be held here in Buellton at 3 o'clock p.m. on the Avenue of Flags, and I believe that's at Median 3, if I'm not mistaken. Median 4, I'm sorry, the sculpture median. And that will be at 3 o'clock. All are welcome to attend. The last thing I'd like to bring up is just an update on the county's progress toward the blueprint for recovery, I think is what it's called, the governor's plan for the COVID-19 pandemic response. The city has been in the orange tier for several weeks now, about 5 weeks, I believe. We have been steadily dropping toward the yellow tier. However, we did not quite make it this last week. It looks like we will hit the first threshold for the yellow tier on Tuesday. We need to have 2 weeks in that tier on Tuesday, so we will hit the second week of that, likely the following Tuesday, which I believe is the 5th. No, I'm sorry, is the 9th. And at that point, the county should drop into yellow tier, and some of our additional restrictions on our businesses would be lifted. And then, of course, the good news following that on the 15th, so less than a week later, we would likely see the tier system go away entirely, and the anticipation is that all business activities that have been restricted up to this point would have those business activities and restrictions removed, with the exception of masking and social distancing requirements. Those would remain, but I think those are scheduled to move from the current levels to whatever the CDC guidelines are, which are currently much less restrictive than California standards. The only businesses that would not fall into this category would be so-called mega events, which are indoor events in excess of 5,000 people or outdoor events in excess of 10,000 people. So at least for the foreseeable future in Buellton, we shouldn't have a problem with that. But that's what we've got so far from the County Public Health Department. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
With the current restaurant, with expansion into the parking areas and all that,
We have a resolution right now that allows city staff to allow that to take place, and that allowance of city staff to make that determination would end upon the ending of social distancing requirements. So at this point, the removal of the tier system, unless it eliminates the social distancing requirements, would not necessitate the amendment of that resolution. But as we move forward in the process, staff will be looking at what's coming down the road, and we will bring the city council a resolution in the future to address the situation as it proceeds. At this point, at least from staff's perspective, it's probably beneficial to allow the businesses that have moved out into the public right-of-way and into their parking areas to continue to do so. So staff is going to look at a possible program for a transition back, and maybe if the city council is interested, a program that might allow that from time to time, perhaps on a seasonal basis, so that even after the COVID pandemic is over, there might be a way to take advantage of that again. But we'll discuss that at a later time under an item that's been agendized. Mm-hmm.
Nothing else? All righty. Mr. Murphy.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The City Council will now move into closed session on 3 items. 2 items of potential initiation of litigation under Government Code 54956.9D4 and the public employee performance evaluation of the city manager under Government Code 54957. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll take a 5-minute break. We leave our Zoom.
We can turn it off.